welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, 18-hour special initiative that celebrates the undying entrepreneurial spirit of micro, small and medium enterprises. On the show today, on Insight, we're featuring a conversation with Planet Superheroes. On Bright Sparks tonight, we're featuring two companies, Swani Spice Mills and Teabox. Merchandising has become a very lucrative business here in India, especially given the increasing popularity of Western fictional characters. Here, I caught up with the CEO of Planet Superheroes to understand this market better. Here are some of his key highlights. Take a look. We like to ask everyone who comes on the show to start by talking about the journey behind, setting up of your company. You're in a very unique space, if I can call it that. So maybe just walk our viewers through what really led you to setting up of Planet Superheroes.
What led us to starting this company was, when my co-founders and I back in 2013 were discussing how do we take a, play on the consumer, on the growing consumer space in India. We came to the conclusion that if we had to make a mark in the consumer space in India, we had to do something different from what everybody else was doing. And what would be different was to create a brand which had a pull demand versus a push demand. We took a walk down sort of memory lane in our own lives. My co-founder has a little son, and we've all been children at some point. We realized that as we grow up and age, the mind share around fantasy fiction TV characters is actually very strong. The only difference is that the character changes, when you're age 3, 5, 7 or even 15. But this space itself has a huge mind share, and we said, why not we try and think of monetizing that mind share in the form of merchandise.
How much of the content that you have and how many of the products that you have a very local angle to it? How much of it is, local characters, and if it's not, why do you think that's being held back?
We do see that the local characters or the monetization thereof has really picked up very well over the last, I would say, couple of years, but it hasn't been so traditionally. And the reason being that for a character to become popular, to get mind share, and for us as merchandisers to actually merchandise these characters, we need the characters to be extremely popular, and this takes decades. As I was stating that Batman has been around for several decades, so has Mickey Mouse or any of the Disney characters. So while it's a good start, I think a lot of the local characters have started creating original intellectual property, and I don't think the time is too far, maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, where there would be there would be a very strong pull demand for these as well.
What part of your merchandising and sale is done through online?
A majority part of our business is actually online. In fact, we started off as an online first company. And when I say online, we of course have our own portal, planetsuperheroes.com. But as we expanded and we scaled, we also realized that we have to function and think like a brand. And when you think like a brand, you do not force your customers to buy at any one place. You be where the customer is. And that's the strategy where we actually channel out, via an omnichannel strategy. We have our own store, our first franchisee, 1,800 square feet store in Bangalore, another one coming up in Mumbai. And the goal is that we'll have 20 such stores by the end of 2017.
Is GST or has demonetization, any of these moves that we've seen recently on the part of the government, have any of those had an impact on your business? And if it has, what's the kind of de-risking strategy that you have?
Of course, our business was hurt the day demonetization was rolled out. But we took this as an opportunity to actually get away with COD. So we as a start have said, let us work on digital payments and let us see how the customers respond. Our sales did drop for a while, but they have come back to similar levels. So we don't expect demonetization to have a negative impact for too long. But the positive impact in forward looking is going to be immense. So we certainly welcome that move. In terms of GST, I think again that's another great move. I think we have a lot of inefficiencies, and especially in interstate taxes, especially even when we work on the offline channels, the paperwork itself and just getting the process through is too much. So we think it's certainly a very, very positive step for us.
We talk to MSMEs and entrepreneurs across India. A business like yours, do you largely see a TG for it in urban India? And if so, how do you ensure that you have a platform or you have a base or you have a target base which is outside of just the metros?
Sure. Yes, our TG is primarily urban India at this point. It's mainly tier one towns, and I think that's simply a function of what exposure they've had, through several, digital means. Uh, so if you look at our the dissemination of content, especially for international characters, it would be fair to say that it would mainly be in tier one towns. But with with mobile phone penetration, with internet and data being consumed at in the rural areas, we're seeing a lot of popularity. If not necessarily in terms of sales, we're certainly seeing a lot of views and click-throughs and interest coming in from rural areas of India, who are getting warmed up to character merchandising and these kind of content in general.
Let's talk about then your fundraising journey. I noticed you raised funds last year, and that was about 2 years into the setting
Right.
up of your company. What was that experience like? And talk to our viewers about the pitfalls, one or two of the things that they really need to keep in mind when they're looking at fundraising.
Investors are ready to back you if you've put your skin in the game. When I say skin in the game, it may not necessarily be monetary. It could also be the kind of time you've spent, the kind of work you have done to kind of establish your product market fit. So if you look at our journey, yes, it wasn't easy. I don't think any investor, any entrepreneur can ever say that fundraising was easy. But what we did, and as advice, is we created a very a matrix-like strategy. Putting out a list of investors that actually are interested in your kind of a business model. You should identify investors based on what their typical portfolio is and what the construct and what the strategy of their fund is. I think a lot of the MSMEs and entrepreneurs miss that out, and probably pitch a consumer internet company to a fund which doesn't look at consumer into IoT or things like that.
Talk to us about the regulatory environment that exists in India for a business of that you're in. What is it like right now? What kind of changes would you like to see if character merchandising is to pick up in India?
The government and the ecosystem in general, whether it be the large online retailers, whether it's modern retail, really step up and go against counterfeit merchandise, because in the end it hurts the entire ecosystem. Force on proper paperwork, legal paperwork, and appreciate and reward anybody that's doing something through formal and official means. I think that that mindset is changing, but I think we have a long way to go. What we do right now in the short term is we fight against counterfeit by providing extreme value to the customer, where the price differential between a counterfeit and official merchandise is bridged to 10%. So we are playing a different strategy. We are playing the strategy of value, but yes, it would certainly help if there is tighter intellectual property norms in India.
Okay, so I was just going to come to that. One or two things that you'd want to advise our viewers who have IP, whatever is the industry that they're in.
Yeah.
Because counterfeit and piracy in India is a huge problem.
So I think one thing is that and I think the cost play is actually a very important play. And when I say cost, I don't just mean reduce the cost. I meant to say that you increase efficiencies in the system. So I think if you want to play the licensing game at this point, you have to play within a 10 to 15% price delta to any other merchandise. That is it is what it is, right? That's the one point. The number two point is you can always be extremely diligent and smart about what and who is basically selling counterfeit online. There are ways, there are tools. In fact, we are building one of those tools. We call it the fake police, where you can actually identify counterfeit online, which is available on several marketplaces. We'll be soon launching that.
As we wind down this conversation, then what are the next, say, 2 through 3 years looking like for you?
3 years are, in fact, the next 12 months are looking extremely interesting. As I said, we have a massive push we have a master franchisee who wants to push in at least 20 stores, around West India. And that will be a massive focus, because as a brand, having offline cohorts really, strengthens your brand. Number two is we would love to get more Indian characters, as you correctly said about being able to have local IP and create merchandise around it, and hope that it gets popular. And number three, we're also making a push for international markets. We have a lot of interest to actually set up internationally, just because of the value that we bring in having quality products at lower price. I think that's a big thesis that we want to play out, and we're getting a very good initial response.
Time for a short break. On the other side, we'll feature two companies, Swani Spice Mills and Teabox. You're back with us here on The Leaders of Tomorrow. On Bright Sparks tonight, we're featuring Swani Spice Mills and Teabox. It's been said that variety is the spice of life, and living up to this very premise is a domestic spice manufacturer with an international footprint. Swani Spice Mills, Pooja Jain met with the management team at the Mumbai-based mill to understand how the company, with its big bets on innovation and sustainability, is sprucing up the global spice market.
Enhancing the flavor of food is a tradition that dates back to the dawn of time. But few have mastered the craft like Swani Spice Mills. With in-house state-of-the-art infrastructure on par with global standards, the family-owned enterprise enjoys a production capacity in excess of 60,000 metric tons annually. Managing Director Kirandeep Singh Swani shared some insights on how a spice empire can span generations, one seasoning at a time.
So you're sitting at the helm of a 7th generation family business, 150 years in the spice trade. How has the company evolved from a spice mill to a global solutions provider when it comes to spices and seasonings?
40 years ago when I joined the business, the spice business is a laggard in my father's portfolio because he had various other businesses, and this was the neglected baby. So I took this on as a challenge, and in the 40 years, I grew it. In 1962, our family was the first in the country to bring in mechanized equipment for cleaning seeds. In 1995, I bought this piece of land here, built this plant, and it has slowly grown to what it is today with a capacity of 60,000 tons.
So the essence of spices is truly rooted in its flavor, its aroma, and color retention. But what role does technology play, if any, in extending the shelf life of spices?
It plays a huge role. Look, all the equipment we use has primarily come out of a lot of years of research and bringing in the best available technology to suit our purpose, to retaining the flavor, aroma, color, taste. And now we have a global prototype for sterilizing with steam, which is the safest technology in the world. It's the philosophy of my life. What I won't eat, I won't sell. There are no shortcuts to this.
So innovation is not typically a word that comes to mind when you think of the spice industry.
My elder son Harjeev and myself, coming from an engineering background, so we think differently from a trader. B, technology and innovation is, as I put it in a very crude expression, sasta roye bar bar, महंगा roye ek bar. I know these are huge capital expenses, but yes, we've embraced that. And we've had to bite the bullet, tighten our belts, but we have gone that way. And I think it's paying dividends. We're making a good product. We're making a far superior product than the run of the mill. And this is why you find we have customer loyalty, we have customers coming back to us. Today we are where we are because of combination of technology, motivation, teamwork, and delivering consistent good product, food safe product to our customers.
From land to lab is a concept that you've pioneered internally, but what is it designed to do exactly?
Let me start with the back end. My younger son Parneet is putting in a lot of time, hard work, and hours into this. He has 4 agro teams in different parts of the country, and we are working a lot on helping farmers to go the sustainable way one thing which we have been able to do for them is to get them to move from flood irrigation to sprinkler irrigation, which is saving them a lot of water, and gradually moving them also, wherever possible, to drip irrigation. And I think the future will be moving to micro irrigation. This move has helped a lot of our farmers to retain their crops and not lose their crops.
So India is responsible for 600,000 tons of global spice exports annually. And yet, that's only 10% of our country's production capacity. That said, what's next for India? Are we poised to become a global processing hub? What are your thoughts?
Well, as far as sourcing spices, you're absolutely right in saying that this is the gold mine. This is the heartland of spices and will continue to stay there. As far as processing and value add, I think India has come a long way. We're already more than 50% of the global trade. And even when every year you go to the spice conferences, people realize and say, yeah, processing hub, you have to come to India. You can't go to Brazil or Vietnam or anywhere else. You have to come here because here are the people with technology, people with the brains and the innovative thought process. And that has been our growth.
Maintaining a delicate balance between preserving the authenticity of the spice while embracing a highly modern approach to its manufacturing, Swani Spice Mills is a step ahead of the pack. An early adopter when it comes to advanced technology and a champion for process automation, the company is penetrating international markets at rapid-fire pace and rewriting the tricks of the spice trade.
India is one of the largest tea producers in the world, with over 70% of the tea being consumed within India itself. But getting this fine product from the hills of Darjeeling and Assam is not everyone's cup of tea. On Bright Sparks tonight, Paulimi Mukhopadhyay caught up with Kaushal Dugar from Teabox to understand what makes this company's tea tick, not just with India, but with 100 countries across the world.
They say morning makes the day. And if you wake up to a bitter tea, God bless your mood.
एक चाय लाना please. How difficult is it to get one good cup of tea?
To answer this question of every tea lover, Siliguri-based e-commerce company Teabox started a mission to serve fresh tea straight from origin to the consumer. Within a short span of time, this company became India's only startup to export tea to over 109 countries globally.
What do you mean exactly when you say that you deliver tea directly from the tea estate, which is the origin, to the consumers?
Simply, it means that we buy teas from the plantations. So we deal with about 150 plus plantations all over India. The best teas which are produced in the plantations, the very next day we would have bought it. It would have been in a facility. We would have done a lot of QC, and then within few days we would ship it to consumers around the world. So there is no middleman in the process. It's just the tea plantation, Teabox, and the end consumer.
Looking at the current scenario in India, millennials are actually moving from coffee to tea as a beverage. I mean, tea is actually taking center stage when it comes to startups opening online and offline ventures one after another.
I think tea is the beverage of the future. A lot of millennials are moving from coffee and other beverages because of health reasons and other aspects as well. And I think India has been predominantly a tea drinking country. It's just that tea has been very commoditized over the last 50 or 100 years. Startups like us and probably many other startups and other companies are trying to premiumize the whole experience and ritual of drinking tea.
Now moving on to funds and investments. Why do you think India's leading tea baron Ratan Tata will actually put his money on your venture? How did you crack the deal?
The only reason I think he backed us because he saw an incredible opportunity which we were trying to tap in terms of making Teabox India's first billion-dollar tea brand. We all know that tea is a huge market worldwide, and given that his company Tetley or TGBL is one of the world's largest tea companies, he had a fair understanding of the tea industry as well. And he realized that if someone could cut out the entire middleman and deliver the best product to consumers worldwide, there's an incredible opportunity to be tapped. He also liked our vision, he liked our ambition, and probably that's why he's backed us to really encourage us to help us achieve our vision.
So with so many online players actually crowding this space, what is your USP and what is your strategy to survive in this market?
I think our product USP is very clear. We deliver the world's freshest teas to consumers worldwide, and the only way we can deliver this is because we have a cold chain processing right at the source where teas are produced. In fact, we are the only company in India which has a dedicated cold storage for teas for storing tea at -5 degrees centigrade.
So Kaushal, what are the expansion plans looking like? Any new deal that you are planning to crack, or maybe opening or tying up with offline stores maybe?
I think there are some plans definitely in the recent future. In fact, we have just experimented with 2 small store-in stores in Bangalore. We are trying to understand that offline experience in terms of getting a consumer to try the product and eventually incentivizing to come online. How does the entire experiment or cycle work? At some point of time, we will definitely go very aggressive offline, but our core DNA will always be online, given that online is a place where we can control the entire experience of a consumer.
To ensure that the freshness of tea is not lost, Teabox created a delivery mechanism through which tea sourced from over 150 estates across India and Nepal can reach the consumer across the map directly from the estate in an advanced nitrogen flush technology enhanced tea pack within just a week of the order placed. With thumbs up from India's tea baron Ratan Tata himself as an investor and all-around investments of ₹50 crores, Teabox is teaching the competition that tasting success in such a crowded space is not everyone's cup of tea.
With that is a wrap on this episode of The Leaders of Tomorrow. We always love hearing from you, the viewer. Do remember you can get in touch with us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can tweet at me personally at Sunanda_J. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT or call us on that number you see flashing on your screen. We promise to have all your questions answered. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.